Like I said, today we're going to start off with decisive campaigns, the Blitzkrieg from Warsaw to Paris. The title is quite a mouthful, but feel free to just call it decisive campaigns, the Blitzkrieg, or even decisive campaigns 1, whatever you please. And it is a turn-based, hex-based strategy game like many others. It's an operational level game, though, and it focuses on a topic that's not nearly enough covered in war games, like the earlier wars or the earlier years of the war. So we got the Fall Wise, the invasion of Poland, and the invasion of the Low Countries, and the invasion of France. So all of this, it can be played through a campaign where you take control of the German troops, and first you invade Poland, then you invade the Low Countries and France, and if you do well enough, you get a chance to continue and actually launch an invasion of the British Isles in the Sea Lion campaign, which let me just show you what it looks like. You can set up your campaign here. You can set for different difficulty levels as well as different campaign settings. The historical one being the easiest, giving you more or less the same challenges the Germans historically had. The harder campaigns give more prepared enemies, enemies who are better able to deal with your Blitzkrieg tactics. We have a deep campaign briefing, and for now, however, we're not going to launch the full campaign. That would really take way too long. You can also play the scenarios as single scenarios rather than a campaign, which is extremely good fun as well. Today, however, we're going to choose one of the extra scenarios for the main reason that they're a bit smaller, a bit more easier to showcase here. So I'll be able to show more of the game, more turns to play. So we're going to select the Netherlands scenario, and today I will be invading my home country of the Netherlands. So we're going to take control of the German armies invading the Netherlands in the earlier years of the war. So this is the main scenario screen, and here we can set up who do we want to play. Do we want to play the Germans? Do we want to play the Netherlands? Do we want to play both in a hot seat multiplayer, for example? Or do we want to let the AI slug it out? We're going to keep the Germans. We're going to have the AI on normal difficulty here. We're going to have the fog of war on. We don't need any password or AI protection because we're playing a single player game, and here we can choose some of the variants, and this is really one of the many great features about this game, is that you can replay the same mission but with different variants. For example, what if the Dutch were actually prepared for the assault? When you turn this on, we can see that if we go here, the variants tab, we can see that if the Dutch army is prepared, they have a higher base morale and higher command and control, so they're able to more effectively deal with your attacks, and they'll also be more available or more able to launch attacks. The second variant is the Germans take it easy, which would entail that the Germans don't consider conquering the Netherlands as much of a priority as they did historically, so they give you a bit more time to do it, and they don't focus enough the same amount of troops to it. Today, however, we're going to just play the standard way, so the historical variant, basically. We're going to keep Fog of War on. Here we have our mission prelude, or our basic scenario introduction, and it tells us that we'll be overrunning the Netherlands in 8 days. So that's the main objective. We have 8 days to conquer the Netherlands. There are a couple of ways of going about it. They're conquering all the important cities of the Netherlands, or there is dropping their morale low enough to force them to capitulate. And this will be the victory that we're going to be aiming for. Here there is a basic information on the terrain you might face. We have the Netherlands are mostly flat, so there are no mountains or whatsoever. There are some hillbacks called the Veluwe, which is like a pretty good defensive terrain, which is where one of the main Dutch defense lines will be. And aside from that, the most annoying thing will be all the canals, rivers, and streams that are so abundant in the Netherlands. We got some information on our own army, as well as on the Allies' army and the victory conditions. So everything you need in order to make like a proper preparation for your scenario is there. So having gone through all that, you can start the campaign, and we're going to have a look at the first screen. So Germany game is in progress. Please start turn. So here we're going to be confronted with a number of screens that give us information about the scenario we are playing and about current events happening. So the year is 1914, May the 10th, and the German divisions crossed the borders of France and the Low Countries. Case Yellow has commands. So this is just one element in the great invasion of the Lower Countries and France. And of course France here was the main prize, not so much the Netherlands. Germany has 100% command and control level, meaning that our troops are top fit and are well organized and able to do a lot of stuff. And victory status on May the 10th. Germany has 8 victory points and needs 22 victory points to win, and the Netherlands have 17 victory points in hand and need to keep at least 4 in order not to lose. That's basically most of the time you play with the Allies. You're not going to be fighting to win, you're going to fighting not to lose. There's not really a chance that, say, playing as Poland, you'll be able to completely crush the German army. So at the moment we have 0 losses, of course. Here it says something interesting. Losses should stay under 10%. Excess losses will be carried to the next scenario if playing campaign mode. So this is not for us important at the moment, but this is definitely an interesting feature for the campaign. So during the campaign, not only do you have to succeed in all these missions within the time limit, you also have to keep your losses down. Germany must have captured, okay. And then we jump in. So here we are looking at the main map, and let me first zoom out for you so we get a good overview. So here we have a piece of Germany. We got an urbanized area here, which is our supply base, and our job is to push through the Netherlands and mainly into the western part where they have the most objective cities. These objective cities can be recognized with the red dot in it and the title. So we'll be going after Arnhem, Nijmegen, to the west to Utrecht, Amersfoort, Dordrecht, Rotterdam, etc. So at our disposal we have a number of different units organized in different corps. This is our main command here, and here we can see the general who is in command, and all the generals that are in the game have a little biography saying what they did during the war, where they came from, etc. So it adds a lot to the atmosphere of really and the detail, and it's great for immersion really. So the game is played in turns, and every turn we get to move all our units, and let me zoom out to get full information on the unit. And we'll be fighting, we'll launch airstrikes, etc. So here we can see this line represents the border, and again we're going to push through. So the first thing we have to do here is get some intel on what it lurks behind the shadows. The shadow here representing, of course, the fog of war. So in order to do that, I'm going to select one of my fly groups, in this case the one located to the south, to do some scouting around the towns of Eindhoven and Tilburg. We're going to press the air recon mission button, and everything that's now located within this gray scheme, so basically everything here on this relatively short map, is within range for an air recon. So first we're going to recon behind enemy lines and launch a recon mission. And now you see we have lit up a great deal of the map, not yet Eindhoven itself, but we can see that behind this unit defending the bridge over at Venlo here, there's very little behind it. So if we can push through quick enough, we might be able to go all the way to Eindhoven before a real defense is created. We can launch even more recon mission depending on the action points, and the action points are represented here in the red, and they are necessary for movement, combat, or all actions really that you take part in. So we're going to do another one near Eindhoven. And see that in Eindhoven itself, however, there is a significant amount of troops available, and even some motorized infantry in the form of Dutch motorbikers. Also note that I can click on any unit to get more information on it, and I can even select from the list other units and compare them together, which is really convenient. Also note that this is really one of my one of the interesting things I noticed in this game is that here we have a unit also under Dutch motorized command, but whereas they don't actually use cars or motorbikes, they ride bicycles. So yeah, you could argue that it's not really motorized anyway, but they're under the command of the motorized troops, and we'll be fighting them, and we're going to take them out. So we're going to do more of these scouting missions across the map and seeing where best to launch our main offensive. So we're going to scout around Nijmegen, or just behind Nijmegen. And we see a number of different units appear. You see there are question marks on a number of units, so we don't have full intel. We can launch more recon missions to get more intel. Do another one. Yes, very good. Select another area unit and do some more to the north. And one around, let's do one around Arnhem as well. So this is the way we conduct the recon missions, and you see we've lifted the fog of war after of a major part. I'm not too bothered with the north really. We don't have that many troops committed there. There are not a lot of victory locations, only the one at the very east here in Enschede. So having done that, we got quite a good picture. We expect the main defenses to be here around the line, and then we'll expect defenses to be set up along the rivers here. So our main goal is to push in from the south as quickly as possible, and in order to help us do that, we have support of the 9th Panzer Division, and then have them link up to the north with the units trying to break the main line. First, let's start up moving our units from the north. So you're going to select a unit, we're going to press the move button, and you see it lights up wherever we can go with our unit. So just move it into territory, and you can see that immediately, as there are no enemies present, we immediately gain control over a big chunk of enemy ground. So we're going to move this cavalry unit into the town of Enschede. We're going to move the train unit further up a bit. And these guys are going to be moved as well into the Dutch territories, pushing as far as possible. So we captured Winterswijk as well, which is not really useful, but okay. So we moved our north positions. Here it will be a bit tougher as there are more units. So we are gonna move up closer first, not necessarily engaging combat directly. You see that as soon as I move my unit here, we got a bit more intel on these guys, since all units provide some intel when they are close to the enemy. So we're going to take up positions with the 254th. These are artillery guys. And we're going to send in assist also the artillery attachment. This is some dedicated artillery with some pretty heavy guns. So they are good, and these guys have a greater range, so they can shoot past 1 hex. So you're going to keep them behind your lines, raining down fire upon the enemy. We got some motorized SS units here. So we're going to move them north and take the town of Arnhem. So now we've captured both the towns of Arnhem and Nijmegen, both of which are victory locations. So we're going to send the 207th behind it. As you can see, I'm moving my groups now one by one, but you can also move them in their entirety. For example, these guys here, number of SS divisions, I can click the group move unit, and with one click I move all of them. Another cool feature in this game is that if you don't like the stacking of units, like you see here, and you want to see them all in one go, simply click the spread units button, and the counters become a bit smaller, and you can see all of them at one go. Also, if you don't like the NATO counters, you can just click this button here and they will become silhouettes, and they will become lighter or darker depending on whether or not they have moved, and these silhouettes will remain even zoomed out. So you got the simplified silhouettes giving you again pretty much all the information you need, but in a slightly different style. So it's really up to your own preference. I myself am used to play with the NATO counters, so I'm going to keep them up for now. But again, you can really do this at your own will. So we're going to continue push. Again, this is one of those missions where there's definitely like a time limit here. So we want to keep the speed up as much as possible and take as much ground as possible before, well, historically, before any help would arrive, really, and also to free up the troops for more meaningful campaigns. So here, for example, we are around this unit of the Pale Divisie. We're going to select it, and we're going to try and take it out with some units. First, however, we're going to launch an artillery attack, and in order to do that, we select the unit, we select the artillery button, and here we can click, and we get a list of all the artillery units available. In this case, it's only the artillery attachment of the 256th, but it will have to do, as it is better than nothing. The advantage, of course, of artillery is that units can fire without any repercussions. So we're going to press the attack, and you'll see artillery fire commencing. This is the simplified combat mechanic. You see some units were damaged here with the red, but most of the units are still fit and standing guarding the hacks. If you want to get more detail, you can easily do that, and you can see the different combat rounds and exactly what every one of the units did during the round. So here, for example, we see that we managed to hit and kill one group of the Dutch infantry. So it doesn't do a lot, but it took a bit of damage. Now we're going to see if some of our planes still have action points available to launch an airstrike. And this is done very much in the same manner. You select the unit, you click the airstrike button, and you ask for a list of what units are available. In this case, we have all 3 air groups available. We're going to just select the closest one. So we're going to launch the airstrike. Again, we get to see the same screen, but we see we did significantly more damage this time around. So now, hopefully, the unit of the Pale Divisie here is weakened enough to launch the ground attack. And with that, again, we selected the hacks and we do the launch ground attack button. We can get the list of all the units. We got 3 units out there who still have enough action points left to launch the attack. 2 units of the 256 and 1 unit of armored train. And we're going to select all of them. So you can choose your own selection, really. And we're going to launch the attack. And we see the battle commencing, and we see that although we did some significant damage to the enemy, we did not actually manage to push them out of the hacks. These guys still remain here. The reason of which is not that our units were killed off or defeated, but they ran out of action points after having moved through the across the bridge, all of them into position. They didn't have enough action points left to launch a really determined attack. It's not too big of a problem for now, though. They're significantly weakened, and we'll see what they do next turn. What I do want to do now is bring up my Panzer guys at their flanks, put some more pressure. I want to get these guys forward as quickly as possible, get them to Tilburg. Alright, so we moved almost all our frontline units. Let's go here then, and let's see if we can take out these guys here and get over the bridge. I'm going to select all my units. I want them here in one piece. And the bridge is not blown yet, thank God. As you can see, we still even have the order. We could blow it ourselves, which is of course not something we want to do. And we're going to select the enemy unit, and again first we're going to launch the artillery barrage. We have 1 unit of artillery attached to the 56th. and we managed to weaken it somewhat. Next we're going to see if more air units are available to attack here. Let's do another airstrike just to be sure. And that was more successful. So now also during the attacks we got a lot more intel on the enemy. We know, for example, their command and control, their unit integrity, excuse me, has dropped low, but not low enough. It needs to be below 70 in order to get the chance to break. It's got low readiness low and 0 entrenchment, so we should be able to call in a main attack now. So we use a ground attack with all our units. We're overstacking a bit, so maybe not all our units. With 2 elements, and we're gonna attack. So we got the battle ongoing. We're actually taking significant casualties here, which is not at all ideal, but we managed to push the group back. Could consider doing a follow-up attack, really, if we have enough action points left. These guys are still fresh. They didn't participate in the previous battle. And yes, they immediately break the unit as soon as they follow up with their attack. So this unit is now off the field, and next turn we're free to push further into here the next line. So now we have to bring up some of our rear units, as we can see here. We're going to just move them as a group forward. They're too big as entire groups to reel them in, though there is strategic movement there using the rail transfer. And you get a number of rail points every turn. So in this case, transfer would cost 640. If I tried to get them here, it would cost 1600, for example. Let's just do that to show how it works, although it does split up the unit. So I can do that for a number of units, but not for the entire division, as it would simply be too big. As you can see, we're already out of points here, so let's just move them as far as we can. And we got the 208th and the 225th here as well. So we're going to move them forward as a group. And it's not bad to have some units in reserve for now, see where we create the gaps and see where we can exploit them. So that's it for that. Do we need to move you forward? Yes. Right, before we end turn, let's have a quick look at the buttons we have to our top here. We got the preferences, where we can set all kinds of options we want. This includes like volume and sound, but also like HQ power range. So if I select an HQ now, you can see what units are within the range of the HQ, as well as for airports. You can change the combat numbers, etc. You can turn on the hex grid for those of you who are really into that. You can turn it on. For me, the axes are clear enough without the grid itself, so I prefer to play without it. We got the mission briefing with all the information we had in advance of the scenario, so we can call that up every time we want. We can call up detailed statistics on changes in the battle, casualties, etc. Although there's not a lot to show yet, since it is the first turn. We can browse our order of battle, where we can see a great visualization of how our order of battle is organized, how our troops are organized, and what unit belongs to which HQ. This is also something you can change yourself, so you can reassign units to different HQ should the situation demand for it, although usually it is advised to keep the units as much as possible together. There is the prep screen, and these are the screens we see at the start of the turn. So these are just the basic information lines we get at the beginning of the turn. And there's the cards, and these cards are also something that's very much unique to this game. These cards are used, you can buy them by using your political points located here in the top right, which is the number 52. And these cards give you extra options or political options that were also available and used very much during the war. For example, here I can use this card for 15 points to enlist the 7th Flieger Division to drop somewhere behind enemy lines. I can also launch this card to launch the terror bombardment on Dutch cities, which historically was the city of Rotterdam, which got significant damage due to bombardment. Or I can petition for an extra division, saying, listen, these Dutch guys are really fighting hard. We need some more troops to make the deadline. Next, we've got the strategic map, which gives you an overview of the current border lines or the front lines. You can also select to show the HQs, so you can quickly see where your units, where your main forces are fighting. And then of course you can click on the mini-map if you constantly want to see that. For now, however, we've moved most of our units, we made first contact with the enemy, and we're going to press the end turn button and see how the Dutch will respond to our sudden invasion. Are you sure you want to end your turn? Yes. So now the Netherlands are playing, they'll be pondering over their moves, they'll be moving their units around. As you can see, Manny is behind the fog of war, so we can't see an awful lot. And the game has progressed. We still have clear weather, that's very good. We have command and control. We have gained some victory points since the previous turn. And we have 1% losses. The Dutch losses are at 3%. It's not high enough, but it will do. So let's just for now try and launch the try and play card. So we're going to play the terror bombing card, and this will lower the overall morale of the Dutch. And we're going to try and push their morale below the 40%, so there's a chance every turn that they might surrender from themselves without us having to take all their cities. So for this strategy, playing the terror bombardment card rather than, for example, the German High Command card or the request more troops card is definitely the better option. So we're going to play that card now. And the German terror bombardment on Dutch cities lowered the Dutch base morale with 10 percentage points. Very good. As you can see, my political points have decreased. At some point, guys, I will be launching some parachutists, some Fallschirmjäger behind enemy lines, probably somewhere here. But I want to have a bit more pressure on their front lines and have a bit more of their troops committed, so they won't have enough reserves to deal with my landings. So for now we can see that the Dutch actually basically just retreated from sight, which is not what I want. I want to be able to hit and kill them as soon as possible to lower their morale, and increase their casualties enough to make them surrender. I want to break their line, not to have them banded. So again, we're gonna move up. Do we need to do some scouting first? Let's just take the chance here. The scouting is obviously a good option, although it takes off action points from your aircraft, which you also will need to launch airstrikes, of course. So you always have to find this balance between actual combat and getting intel. So we're going to move our armored train up. I don't really care for this unit. They weren't used that much during World War II. They weren't that effective anymore. So they're good units to let them take the first blow whenever whenever you run in or surprised by the enemy. And we're going to send a number of units behind it of our 256. We're going to move up our 9th as well behind the bridge, ready to go over. Right. Here we are going to move up as well. We run into some enemy units. Should not let the artillery guy go alone. When you see these guys with the letter R in the counter, oops, it was a misclick, like you see here and here, it means that they are considered reservist units. So here we have reservist German. So they're usually somewhat less effective than the main guys, of course. Here we're going to select our SS unit and try and push it forward and see where we encounter the enemy. Pretty quickly here already. We're going to send in more troops there to have him, to support him. We can easily leave Arnhem abandoned because already we have a next group of units coming in. I'm inclined actually to try and send these. Let's try that. Let's send these SS groups, motorized units, to the north, and have them try and break through the line near Amersfoort. And from there, we're very quickly very near towns Hilversum, Utrecht, and if we push further north to Amsterdam and Haarlem. We're going to move up these guys to the town of Arnhem to make sure that's still secured. I'm going to move these guys up to the town of Nijmegen. We're going to move up our HQ units a bit to make sure they are within range, as well as the attached engineer units. You can see all the units that fall under the HQ in questions are highlighted with a border. So that's an easy way to identify which units belong to which HQ on the map, instead of opening the order of battle, which of course is also a valid way of doing things. So I can see some significant discussions are going on about the age of the players and the guys here. Always good to see. I'm going to move these guys up further. We're going to reel you in like we were with your previous pals. It's too far already. Just move you. Oops, wrong button. Another option, if you think the screen here is a bit too big, a bit too obtrusive, you can just hide it any time you'd like and get it back up in a click. Developer here of VR Designs, Vic, has tried really hard to make this game as accessible as possible while maintaining the depth of a proper war game, and I think he really did a great job at that. So we're going to move this guy north, and we can see that this part of the Netherlands is pretty much completely devoid of people. Well, people of troops, also not a whole lot of people living here compared to the west. Move you up as well. 207th, what are you still doing here? We're going to transfer them in to make them catch up with the rest of their group. Alright. So we got these guys here. If we need to move our artillery unit forward as well, and we can get a barrage going on this guy. And just try and do some damage and try and lower their readiness, although this time it wasn't extremely successful. We got some airstrikes in the pockets as well. I'd like to get this guy really weakened. So let's take some air units. And that's not a bad result at all. I'm quite encouraged, so let's try another one. Launch the attack. Excellent. So now we're going to see and try and push through, because traditionally here was the defensive line of the Netherlands. Do we have any air units left for a recon for that? These guys are moved out. These guys probably, it's a bit risky, but let's take a look around Amersfoort here. And we can see we actually catch fire by some flak and some motorized units, but we don't do any damage. Of course, we're just on recon. They don't do any damage either, so that's pretty good. But we can see that even this line is devoid of troops here. So that bodes well for these SS units here, although I wonder where their armies are actually standing then. So let's try and launch the ground attack at these guys. I think our SS units should have enough action points left to launch an attack. And they do indeed. The enemy retreated just in time, because as you can see here, our unit was out of action points. But we do manage to capture the town of Rhenen. Move these guys forward. And of course our units in the north, yes, these have all moved as well. So having done that, we've terror bombed some Dutch city. We pushed further into their lines, but we don't really catch and cut off many Dutch divisions as they retreat on sight, which is actually quite annoying because it will delay our victory. And having done that, we're going to press and turn. Alright, so the Dutch moved again. We got rainy weather. This is not good. Generally, better weather is of course good for the attacker, especially since we're actually the one having panzer units. The Dutch army at the time did have some armored vehicles, but no tanks whatsoever. In fact, after World War I, the Dutch Defense Ministry bought a tank from the French, one of the famous Renault FTs, and they decided that with all the watery ground here in the Netherlands, tanks were pretty much useless. But they were proven wrong quite a bit when, of course, the Germans invaded. What we've seen appeared here is a lot of swampy terrain just appeared that wasn't here before. And this is one of the results of one of the Dutch political actions, or one of the Dutch cards, just like we did with the terror bombing. And that is called the Dutch waterlinie, or water line. And this is a defense line that came as a result of breaking through or destroying the dikes at certain points, letting water flow through, and actually flooding a great part of the Netherlands to form a new defensive line. Of course, we're not happy with it, but now we know where the Dutch units are. Bummer for the Dutch guys that's stranded behind the line, though. I tend to feel bad for them. Move our train unit here, and as you can see, our trains are not very good at spotting enemy units, which makes sense, I suppose. So we still have no clue what type of unit it is, how strong it is, or whatsoever. So we're going to move some units next to it. And we immediately spot more troops. Ideally, though, I'd like to move my panzer units around it. We can see a lot more troops here. Trying to protect the southern approach. So I'm gonna again try and position my panzer unit in such a way that they will be able to strike whenever the chance is there, while surrounding this unit here. Move up you guys, of course. Where's the rest of your group here? You're not on a railway at the moment, so that makes sense. It's trying to strategically redeploy troops that that were not actually on a railroad. So trying to get railroad carriage to them is a bit futile. Here to the north we're going to move our troops again, but I really don't think we'll encounter any type of resistance here now. However, since they dug in, or seem to have dug in behind the new water line, this might be a good chance for us to try and launch our airborne invasion. Or not so much the airborne invasion, but the airborne distraction. We just have to find a good location. So there are two ways of doing it, really. We're trying to launch them behind the enemy lines and make sure to weaken the lines so our units can push through quickly, or we really try to launch them far away behind, like near The Hague or Den Haag or near Amsterdam, in order to take out more of their morale and capture some victory locations. The second one is obviously riskier, which is of course why we're going to do it. So we're going to play the card of the 7th Flieger Division, and now we get the option to choose wherever we want to launch them. And I'm going to try and launch them near the town of Den Haag, The Hague. So we're going to launch them in the fields just to the south, so not in the city directly, which is probably protected by flak units as well, and not in this side because they would have to cross a river. So just to the south, and we're going to play the card, and an infantry division has been deployed in Polder. So now we have several units here, and unfortunately we can see that some units were held in reserve, which is not good for us. But still we're going to try and move up to Den Haag. But we can immediately see that the number of units is even there, including some Marines and some elite infantry. We also see then one of their corps that might be a good target for an attack, as it is unsupported, and it is the first corps by Nicolas Carstens. And again, if you need more information on anything, you click on it and you get to see anything or some information about the general, about his capabilities, etc. So we're going to see if with some unit available. No, he doesn't have enough action points available to actually launch the attack, which is unfortunate. But we'll see how the Dutch respond to the droppings here. Right, so having done that, we're going to try and push up here further. This unit is about to break. It's extremely weak actually, so we're going to just try and get one of these units close by enough and launch an attack. Move up these units as well, try and get the surround here going, while you move up to the north. So we're going to go far away. It's kind of risky, so behind enemy lines, but again I think that the bulk of their troops is behind this line here, so I'm not too afraid for a punch through here, partially also because I got some extra units in reserve as well making their way through. So we're close to the town of Utrecht now, so we're actually very close to threatening Hilversum, Amsterdam with some very quick units. So hopefully they'll have to move some defenses up north, make it easier for us to punch through here. Very good pointing that typo out from Gorinchem. I'm sorry you lived there though. Right, so let's move up our air units a bit, getting in closer to the action. As you can see, air units can only move through specific axes. They can't just create an airfield anywhere. And okay, let's see if we can take out this unit now first. We take both of them and we launch the attack. And I expect it to break fairly quickly, and indeed it does. We have several divisions. Let's move up the 208th division into the get some pressure here while we move up the 207th. So these guys are threatened to be cut off. Let's just try and do that all together. And get their morale lowered. So we managed actually to cut off some units, which is really good. As it gives us less units to worry about when we try and push through here, if by then we haven't lowered their morale enough. But in order to do that, we really need to do some damage here, and I'm not certain that will happen. You've used up your points. Okay, let's see. We need to move up to 225th as well. I'm going to send them. I think we should send them here really, because if, in the end, there's not a lot south to conquer other than Tilburg now. So it might already, not have been a good idea to overcommit them using the 9th Panzer to join in there. So let's bombard these guys here a bit. Let's see. We're gonna want to push through here to these guys soon. So let's set up some airstrikes and weaken them. Not an overly successful one, but of course. Notice how, by the way, how other units were also joining into the how Dutch interceptors actually joined in. The Dutch didn't have a lot of fighters left. A lot of them were shot on the ground. But overall, the Fokkers they used were not completely outdated. It's just that the numerical superiority was so great of the Germans that the Luftwaffe really overpowered the Dutch Air Force. We're going to launch a second attack from the units located now in Helmond. Doing some more damage here. And we have one attack left. And again, rather unsuccessful. And he strangled units behind it. We have to move up. We got these guys, but they're defecting basically what is our supply base. Right, I can launch some artillery here because I have my artillery unit. I'm actually inclined to see if we would manage to kick them. That we would not. That's the power of the reservists for you. So the Dutch defended against me there. So that's it for this turn, I suppose. It was not overly successful, though we managed to surround some units. I'm not sure we're making enough progress, and I'm quite afraid with the amount of troops they had here in the back of the 1st Corps. So having done that, we're going to end our turn. The weather is clear again, which is good. Also a lot for our Air Force. Dutch losses are increasing. May 17th. So a lot of troops have just appeared here. It's really unexpected, actually. I'm not really sure how many units they will still have left actually behind these lines then. So let's focus on getting here first. So let's go into Amersfoort, which is defended here like we encountered. Probably will be the same for Utrecht. And indeed, although there's only an HQ here, so this is a very, very juicy target. First gonna move in these guys. the armored train and the guys of the 227th, and the cavalry of the 1st. As you can see, all the interface, etc., is all fairly easy to manipulate, to move around. It's all pretty straightforward. So even though there's quite a lot of detail behind the scenes here, or under the hood, it's fairly easy to just pick up and play. Knowing your history is a slight advantage, of course, but by no means necessary. And here we managed to keep the surround on these units, so I'd like to just get rid of them now. Use some of the turn, not overstacking. They retreat. One of my units panic, but that's not too bad. Let's just launch some artillery here. Let's give them an airstrike. Quite successful, very good. So now we're going to try and launch our attack with the 208th, 2 groups. We don't want to overstack. Overstacking means basically that you have too many units in too small a field, and penalties will apply. It also means it will take more action points to actually move through these areas. However, we've taken them out now, dealing a significant blow to the Dutch troops. Here we're going to move our units to the border of Utrecht and see if we can launch the attack. And indeed we can. So we're going to attack their Feldkommando, which is unprotected. Although we run out of AP because of the move there in advance, but we do manage to do some damage, and we can actually launch a second attack with the units we didn't use in the first one. Although, as you can see, the stacking penalty remains, which is that because it's turn-based, you feel like you're doing first one attack, then the other. Of course, in real time, it would be more like at the same time, or at least in very rapid succession. So again, because we ran out of AP, we didn't not push them back. That is unfortunate. Counter troops at Wijk-bij-Duurstede, unfortunately, as well. Let's move up to 208th. That we will remove them. Yeah, we did. Alright, we get these guys coming in. You guys are almost there. The amount of troops here is really quite flabbergasting, really. Okay, so let's first just take out these guys. I'm gonna use our shitty train because it's the only time we would use it in combat. I'm gonna try to not overstack too much. We break one unit, but one of our units got retreated, the other one panicked, and one just ran out of action points. We're going to launch our second attack, and unfortunately you have to overstack significantly. So we're going to use the 9th to really make a push. And both our units retreated after getting out of action points, whereas the brave Dutch motorbikers, assisted by their Swedish armored cars, managed to hold ground. I do not, however, want to try and lock them in, if at all possible. Yes. And here we're going to try and threaten Tilburg from the south then. You guys are going to move up to the town of Oss with the artillery behind it. I can send some engineers to support. Engineers are not usually all too proficient at combat, but Of course, Dutch here are not very good at attacking. They're quite weak. They're already happy when they got their defense working, and because of their lowered command and control, they don't have enough. They don't really have a lot of opportunity actually to get into the attack. I'm gonna move you here. We're gonna soften this up first with an airstrike and try and take the bridge. And we're gonna do another airstrike. We should have one more. Yeah, those cyclists in the south are really a pain. I really wonder why we don't have that many cyclist troops anymore. This pretty much proves how effective they were. And we're gonna list the units, and we're gonna use the these two guys and launch the attack. And the enemy breaks upon our arrival, so we can move up. There is a bonus for attacking the enemy from multiple sides, and this bonus is even stronger if the units attacking from multiple sides are actually under the same command, so they would be relatively better organized, so to speak. So along that type of stuff, together with the fortification level, together with the command and control level, with the unit integrity stuff, all of this adds up to a pretty realistic combat model while still remaining pretty accessible and easy to understand for first time players. If you just got the game or getting it now, it is on sale at the moment. It just released on Steam as well, so you can grab it from there, or you can grab the DRM free version from our own stores and get your free Steam key with that. It's currently 50% off, celebrating the Steam release, so now is pretty good time to pick it up. And I'm actually forgetting to play my second card, which is the second airstrike, but I don't have enough political points at the moment, so that is unfortunate. So they'll have to do without it for now. And I don't dare to launch an attack here. Would it be worthwhile to try and move them to Rotterdam? Could give it a go, I suppose. No. That was an ill-conceived movement. Alright, so let's just try and end the turn then. So they're moving a lot of troops around. They're cutting off my forward. SS Panzer, we get range again. We really need more victory points, but we really inflicted a lot of Dutch losses here. So the town of Tilburg is protected, but relatively lightly. Threatening it from the south might be the way to go. Even though we run the risk of getting cut off. First, however, I'd like to just deal with this guy for once and for all now. I'm going to use the artillery, local artillery we have. And we're going to use an airstrike. And we're going to show no mercy to these brave cyclists. Well, I know you're rooting for them, but I'm sorry to have to do this then. They are broken, and they have left the field of battle, freeing up my panzer units to make sure they won't be able to break through the line here, which is kind of a biggie. Take this next. We're going to move our railway units up, or extremely useless railway units. We're going to close the line here as well. So next turn I hope to be able to take the Dutch guys out here. And here we still managed to, we were almost cut off completely, but we still managed to get one real line even towards our units here, so that's very good. And we're going to move up our HQ in order to keep them within range. And we've actually managed to surround, because of the zone of control we have in the area, we managed to surround the Veldleger. And we're going to try and just kick it off now. So the enemy panics and leaves the field. Well, we are going to move in and try and move north from that, actually. So we are now directly threatening Amsterdam, and I'm inclined to drop my second guys now, because now I have 15 political points. We get 2 each turn, so I can drop these guys now, our second airborne landing. And I'm inclined, rather than to reinforce these guys here in their pointless attempt, to drop them here to prevent reinforcements going north. Perhaps even here directly. Let's do that. So we dropped the unit here. This town was actually completely undefended, the town of Haarlem. And it seems that Amsterdam is also undefended. The Dutch threw all their reserves apparently on my drop here. So that's very good, and that's actually quite lucky for me. So having captured Amsterdam and Haarlem in one turn, that's quite a victory, even though so in the south they've committed a lot of units. They didn't give enough attention to the north, and probably didn't expect a second para drop behind their lines. At least not someone that didn't reinforce the first one, as if we don't care for their lives whatsoever. So we're going to move in more units. We locked in the flak unit that was left behind. And we've just dealt a significant blow to the Dutch morale. Although now we can see we're trying to move up to their defensive line. We can see more units appearing. I'm not inclined to go into combat directly after moving. I'm trying to take the bridge here, just take some of these positions that make it more difficult for the enemy to move around, to retreat to area I don't want them to retreat to. Is there a stacking limit? Is an question here by Wargamer. There is. You can stack. I think you can stack as many units as you want on the hacks. I haven't actually met the stacking limit. But it costs you more movement points if you move through hexes with a lot of units out there, as in the roads are crowded, etc. The same goes, for example, for in going on the attack. If you overstack, you use way more action points than you actually need to. So it's not, there's not, so it's, how do you say that? It's not a hard-coded stacking limit in that sense. It just is extremely unwise to overstack. It's a way to really recreate what happened in real life there. So I hope that answers your questions a bit. Unfortunately, the developer of 2x3 games, or 2x3, I'm messing around here, not 2x3, of course, by VR Designs, Vic, couldn't be here tonight though. You would have probably found way better answers to all these questions of you. We're going to move these up. And can we close the line completely? Yes, we can. This is quite good. I feel quite secure here still. I mean, we don't have a lot of power to really push all these units away, but our line feels secure enough to not get outflanked completely in one turn. Gonna move up more of our HQ units. This guy is a bit out there, but we trust the Dutch won't dare to launch more offensives. Okay, so having done that, I think we moved our units. Do we have any? Let's try and do some recon missions. What's still behind here then? Definitely some units, even some more cyclists. Still one around Dordrecht. Right, so the bulk of the troops really appears to be around here and around here, near the town of Den Haag. So having done that, we're going to press and turn. And we're going to see what the Dutch are up to. They're reinforcing their line around the city, which is unfortunate. They're bombarding my positions. They're moving units away from Den Haag though. Clearweather has returned. We hold 17 victory points of the 22. They still hold 8. Their losses are 13%. And it's May 15th and we need to have it done by May the 17th. So we're running a bit late here, but I'm going to try and finish the scenario anyway. So they left Den Haag undefended, anticipating probably moving south and consolidating their forces somewhere, I suppose around Rotterdam or Dordrecht, and holding those last victory points. It is to my advantage though. So I can take the town of Leiden. I move one unit into the town of Den Haag and try and move the other south and scout around the area. And immediately see and run into a number of units. Knowing that the north is secure though, we can move our units south. I'd first like to do some recon here actually. Recon around Gouda. Nothing there. And another one around just south of Rotterdam. Right, so here we can see a significant troop concentration. Why did they all leave Den Haag? It's a bit weird. It could be weird, although not completely like strange. I mean, Den Haag itself wouldn't have a lot to fight for anymore at this point in time. The government would have probably already relocated. Of course, the royal house was already was already on English shores. So they might figure they might be better at consolidating their defense at one point rather than spread out through the different cities. So for example, here around Rotterdam, they seem to be forming some kind of defense like they do here to the south. What do the icons under the unit base info panel stand for? These are indeed like the Sukhoi or Islamic group mentioned here. These are basic unit info. So we got the action points, we got the supply consumption, we got the unit integrity, basically the command and control. We got the readiness, which is very important for the offensive capabilities. We have the unit experience, which of course grows as you go through the campaigns and take your units from one mission to another. It also grows throughout the mission if they fight a lot. We got the unit morale, and we got the entrenchment levels. So these are the basic ones. And here we can have even more details if we want to get the exact numbers of the different statistics, the unit weight, the stack points, the HQ power, etc. So all the stats are there if you want them to. If you don't want to see them and just want to move around, checking like how far can I move from that, you're free to do that as well. Take Alphen, take Schoonhoven, all these precious towns. And move south, we're going to take care of this flak unit here. Just cavalry should be able to finish that off, I suppose. The enemy retreats but doesn't get destroyed. That's annoying, so we have to launch another attack. Now we're out of AP because of the move. So they live to fight, well, they live to flee another day, I suppose. We're going to send just the rest of our units in. I don't like that they're forming a defense here, actually. I would have preferred to keep them spread out. The same goes here. I'm going to try and get one good shot at these guys. Getting a good surround on them. So we can get some armor with it. Why are there no French units? You mean in this scenario or in the game altogether? Because there is definitely a significant number of French units in the game. Depending on the scenario you play. Let's see. So we're going to first launch some airstrikes. Before the guy behind Slytherin Group here, Sukhoi or Olivier, is French himself, so he's allowed to say it, I suppose. I would, of course, never say something like that. Now we're going to launch a second airstrike. Do some more damage. We're going to launch an artillery strike. We don't have a lot of artillery in the location. And in fact, the enemy artillery is overpowering ours. So we just try and launch the basically. Yes, indeed, there was a French force moving up into the Netherlands, actually bringing with them the only tank that fought during the Battle of the Netherlands. But it proved of extremely little consequence for the battle itself, as the Dutch were pretty much lost by themselves, and of course the French weren't doing too well, too good either. I'm going to select the units which are the fittest. Don't like to bring the engineers in. Let's take the panzer units in. We get one concentric bonus, one divisional bonus. So here you can see what kind of bonuses the different combinations give. Using the different infantry gives me bonus because I use units of the same under the same command, so they have better cooperation, giving them the bonus. Using the armor, of course, gives a better concentric bonus because they have better surround on the enemy. I'm going to choose for this now. I'm going to launch the attack. And we run out of action points quite quickly, so we launch another attack. We're going to throw everything we have at them. And again, we've run out of action points, and the enemy will be able to get more units into here. And we are at risk of getting outflanked. So I'm going to move back some units. So we won't get cut off completely. I'm going to try again next turn. The good thing is it's quite difficult for the enemy to reinforce their units here because both of the bridges are blown, and they're not doing too well. So that's to my advantage, definitely. Here we have a good surround on these guys. We're going to try and complete it. So as you can see, this way we use a lot of stacks, but we have a 75% concentric bonus. One panic, one retreat. That's fine though. Don't forget to kill that flag. Yeah, very good tip. Let me get right that after we deal with this guy. We don't have any troops left. So this flag is now officially has lived out his last days. Let me get this surround on the unit. Gonna pound it with some artillery. Just move next to it. Doesn't do any damage. Bloody flag. Don't think I've ever had so much trouble with a unit of flag. And why can't our units not attack it? Is it behind the stream there? It appears so. Let's see. The movement costs here are too great to go around because of the shitty terrain. So we're gonna have to wait yet another turn to get into the attack. I will just... The problem with flag is also that I'm not as eager as I go to the to get with the airdrops or to launch an airstrike against it, as there are still flak units. What I will do, however, is try and push further south here and see if I can see just how strong these units are at this location. Well, we'll probably have to leave that for next turn, I suppose. Move the layers elements of the 256 up. And get more units up here for Vaikudirstede. And further south. We got a lot of units, but we simply probably just don't have the time to completely finish them off in time. Unless we've dealt a significant blow enough, again, to their morale. We've encountered a major part of the enemy line. Alright. We don't have any political points, so any cards are useless. I suppose we're gonna have to leave it at that for this turn then. That's a very nice surprise, Bashar. That's quite awesome. And the Netherlands are surrendering because of the lowered morale. So we got the picture here. The Netherlands' base morale dropped below 40 and political support vanished in this turn, causing the Dutch troops to surrender. If the Netherlands played by a human, player lost turn. That's to play. After it, the now defunct regime will be put to sleep. So that was the end of the Netherlands. We had full command and control. We had 25 of the 22 victory points, which is not the case because all the Dutch troops have left the field, and the Dutch losses are at 100%, signifying that we have indeed won. So German victory 2 rounds before the deadline, so we have only 2 days left really. This earns them 20 PP. This is something, of course, you would use in the campaign. You would get these extra political points in the next scenario, and we lost 4% of our units, which is below the demand. So they told us to have less than 10%, and we did that quite well. So we got a final score of 35 PP. All right. So that's one scenario of the decisive campaigns, the Blitzkrieg from Warsaw to Paris. Thank you for V. Paulus to be so extremely surprised that I won this time around. Really thank you for your trust and your confidence in me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, for being with us. And if you are Dutch, I'm terribly sorry I invaded our beautiful country. But, you know, attacking is usually the more fun option than defending, especially a game about the Blitzkrieg. So having said that, we're going to return to the main menu, point you again towards all the different scenarios that are there, the case-wide scenario, invasion of Poland, the invasion of the Low Country and Sea Line, as well as some extra scenarios. The game is just out on Steam. You can pick it up with a 50% discount. Clicking up on the banner below the stream will take you directly to the page, or you can buy it from our own web store at www.matrixgames.com or www.slytherin.com, and you'll also be able to get a free Steam key from us there. We'll be back again next week with another stream. We're trying and doing these weekly, always at the same time, the same URL. So be sure to find us, be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for any questions you had, for joining us tonight, and for taking the time to watch this stream. And enjoy the game. All right, have a terrific day. Cheers.